Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, everybody? Kevin Jackson here. So, Antifa on November the 4th had taken out a full-page ad in a New York City, New York Times, and had announced in 20 locations that it was going to be radical, this, that, and the other. And we covered it when I was co-hosting Fox News, Fox and Friends. And you know, it was funny in the prep meetings where everybody was saying, you know, what's going to happen, Kevin? Pete Headchef, he was saying, you know, what do you think? Should we cover it? And you know, and the producers were all trying to figure things out. And I said, you got to cover it because you don't know what's going to happen. It would be remiss. But at the end of the day, I don't think much is going to happen. You can't give a warning to people like, we're going to be out here and we're Antifa. And in fact, the title on it the next day for us was Anti-Fail. But you can't put that out there and come out with, you know, let people know, hey, we're going to be out here with our chains and our brass knuckles and everything else, and then think you're going to be safe. I think Antifa, honestly, got more afraid of what could potentially happen to them than what they could potentially do to us. And look, I said this about Occupy Wall Street. I said, you know, this will be, it's the, how did I put it? I was at the CPAC that year, and I said, we won't even remember who these guys are. You know, it'll be, I said, you'll remember them like you would Whoopi Goldberg's, I think I said her profile on one of these dating sites or something. I don't remember what it was, but it was funny because people cracked up. And I don't remember things after I say them. But what I'll tell you is it was a big bust. It was a failure. And I'm glad it was a failure on the sense that maybe Antifa has finally figured out that nobody's afraid, nobody's intimidated. And oh, by the way, you're the fascist. But here's the thing you can rest assured for, you know, of anything I tell you today. I mean, I'm going to tell you a lot of stuff that you can remember, but here's one you can start with. Antifa in a year won't even be around. They won't be around. And I'll tell you something else. Black Lives Matter is already marginalized to the point where nobody cares. They've got money behind them, Soros money, who knows, but nobody cares. It's racist. It's anti-American in so many ways, and people have sickened of the idea that we have to make some sort of special concessions because you're black. This country gives you an opportunity. These little fascist, you know, kids that are living in mommy's basement looking for any excuse to be mad about something, mostly white kids. You know, what are they protesting? We're going to help black people. Well, I tell you what, if you want to help black people, protesting about us isn't going to help. I'm just saying, it's like, Kevin, I'm going to protest on behalf of somebody buying you a burger. Well, you know what? Hey, I tell you what, how about we do this? How about you buy me a burger? I don't want you protesting on my behalf. So I got into a little bit of a rift, if you want to call it that, with this white kid. I interviewed Sheriff. Well, I didn't interview Sheriff. Actually, I was in that interview on the weekend with Sheriff Clark. And he came, you know, Sheriff Clark doesn't mince words. He said, you know, Kevin, it's these bunch of little snowflake, you know, pansy white kids, you know, because I asked him, I said, I find it insulting that these bourgeois white kids think they're the ones who should be, you know, protesting on behalf of America because of us, because of black people. Look, we've been protecting ourselves for millennia. So what are you talking about? You're going to come protect us. I don't need you. So Sheriff Clark called them snowflakes. I called them snowflakes. Now there's two ways to think of snowflakes. A snowflake is your white girl. Like if you're a black dude and you're like, yeah, man, they're like, Kev, you dating that white girl? Yeah, man, got me a little snowflake. That's what we, in the vernacular, we call a white girl, a snowflake. Okay? But the bigger meaning has become that sort of overtaken it is the idea of a snowflake college student, meaning somebody who can't handle the heat and typically is a white person, but doesn't have to be. It's the experience of you put those people under pressure or in the heat and they melt, you know, or they collapse like a Hollywood stage chair. So that's the notion. So that was the notion. That was the way that me and Sheriff Clark used that terminology. So some guy writes to me and he's mad. Kevin, I can't believe you demean white people. I turned it off the minute that you said turned off Fox. The minute you said that. And so I wrote him back and I went, okay, fine. Thanks for the update. I don't think it, I'm sure, I don't know how Nielsen or Arbitron looks at the numbers, but I'm sure it registered. So congratulations to yourself. But you're offended over me using Snowflake and you're making a racial reference, and I wasn't. I was making a pansy reference. I said, if you want to be mad at me, be mad that I called you guys pansies. But I said, but the bigger issue around that is you accept it. So you obviously believe you are one of those snowflakes who's a pansy. It was racial, man. I've looked it up and it means, and I said, look, first of all, and I gave him the definition. You're right. There is the snowflake definition of a white chick. But there's also the snowflake definition of you millennials and you college kids and your pansies. And you're not going to convince me that I said anything wrong because that term has been used. It's used by lots of people. I know you might like me to change it, because the left certainly loves to change, bully us around with the lexicon. But as it stands right now, I'm never going to quit saying it. But as it stands right now, it is an acceptable term for millennials who aren't willing to fight for anything. So, long story short, yesterday, after I got through all my ordeal with, flying around and everything else, the kid writes me back and says, Mr. Jackson, I'm really sorry. You were right, etc. Because what was funny, he sends me the definition of a snowflake as a young white girl. And I told him, I said, read the message I just sent you that said there's two definitions, and that's one of them. And then he got quiet for a bit. And then when I landed and got situated and all that, he sends me the note apologizing, which I told him it's big of him to do that. So I'm glad he did. But anyway, Antifa. So we're going to talk a lot about Antifa today in the subcontext of the shooting, in the subcontext of radicalization of America and radicalization of Muslims, radicalization of these snowflakes, these kids in college that don't even know what they're fighting for, radicalization of blacks in America, and so on and so forth. That's what the left does. It wants you to be upset. I've talked about this from a psychological point of view. If you are not happy, you don't want other people happy. You don't see happiness as, wow, I aspire to that. You see it as something to be jealous of. And that's exactly what's happening right now. The left want you to be miserable with them. Do you know the saying, misery loves company? And it does. But as a conservative who may be down and out or whatever and miserable, you know what I do? I go, man, I want to be happy. I was talking to one of the people on the plane when I flew in, and we were all, everybody's upset. And so I said, well, let's watch some comedy. So we put on a couple of comedy clips. We were all laughing. There were people coming over. What are y'all doing? We're watching comedy. Why not? We're stuck here. People looking for hotels and who knows. So why not enjoy it? Anyway, when we come back, we're going to delve into the church shooting and a bunch of other stuff, folks. I'm so glad you're here. Glad to be with you.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.